I've been just sleeping the last few days.
Are you ready? We're ready? We're ready? Okay. We'll call the April 16th Board of Parks and Recreation regular meeting to order. We have a quorum. And the first item on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? You have, well, you can, this is more than school. You can raise your hand and then we have to need you to come to the microphone and identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Mary Swartzen. I was here in the fall and I wanted to thank you guys for listening. When I went to get my full pass this year, they said that they are considering, they're gonna ask the lifeguards if they will work weekends. So I thought that was really good, so I want to thank you for that. The other thing that I talked about too, you were talking about camp, or not getting enough people for camp, the counselors, high school. And I had mentioned going to Lake Central. I know we have lifeguards from Lake Central. But the other thing is if somebody would talk to counselors and advisors, and if you tell the counselors and advisors that these kids can get put on their resumes for college. And what a great thing, if you're a camp counselor, to put on your resume for college application. So I just came up with that, thought I was gone for the winter, but I'm back. I said I'd be back. I'll be back. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. We welcome you back. Anyone else looking to speak?
And happy retirement.
Happy retirement. Great. Seeing no one, we'll move on to administrative matters, approval of park board minutes for March 19th. Everyone read them thoroughly.
I read them and did not have any questions. Move to approve the minutes.
My second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for March 19th. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item small b, confirmation of voucher 1 and 2, 24-4A and 24-4B. So it'll be small this month.
Again, I reviewed them and I did not have any questions, so I would give a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and it's seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The vouchers have been approved. Moving on to reports, the April board report. Mr. Mark.
Thank you. We have a written report. I'll go through and highlight and answer any questions you might have on anything that comes up. Community Estates Park, we did get the completed grading plan back from SCH. That has been shared with the subdivision developer for them to implement to avoid some of the drainage concerns in the park, including by the entrance sidewalk. We're waiting a response from them, but hopefully they'll be jumping on that here sometime soon. Parking out of Centennial Park, lots of people registered. We're approaching 7,000 license plates in the system, so that continues. People can continue to register as residents if they have not yet done so. We've had a few tickets have started to go out because it went active April 1st. So we just my monthly reminder for everyone to get registered if they're residents, if they want to not get one of those parking tickets out there. Babe Ruth was here last month and we talked to him following the meeting. We are going to proceed with some improvements to correct the drainage issue in front of the 4 dugouts. We're also going to get some a little bit of field ball mix material delivered for them. Altogether, it's just under $20,000 worth of work. This was there, as I've mentioned to you before, we kind of do a 3-year cycle between Little League, softball, Babe Ruth. This was Babe Ruth's year. With these improvements, this is what they preferred to have us proceed with. So we have given them that go ahead. We will not get, it's going to be lucky if we get it done in time for the season, but at least it'll get done. We're on the list from the contractor to get the work done. They'll be doing it during the daytime hours and have to wrap up each day to not interfere with any games once they get started with that. They have Also, our meeting with Caleb as far as concessions goes, Centennial Park Golf has already ordered and had staff hired for the summer. They've informed me that they're allowing the Babe Ruth to potentially take over beginning with their fall ball season. So that's something, just to make you aware of, and they would do that as a pilot project for the fall season. Hopefully making their tournaments as they normally operate that in. Leachate pumping system out at Centennial Park at the landfill. We were working on that and getting that working again. That was on the council's agenda last night. We submitted a proposal from a contractor to do work out there. Basically, our pump stations that are part of that system failed. So with the approvals from yesterday, that'll begin to get corrected and move forward. Nothing you have to deal with, but it is something that does take up a lot of our maintenance staff time. Hart Ditch bank stabilization has begun. If you've been by Stewart Park on the south end of Stewart, there's a haul road that's the way in. So this is restoring the banks along Hart Ditch between 45th and Franklin. That's where they left off. They were south of that previously. This is this year's amount of work, so that'll be happening there.
You can blame me, Mark, it's okay.
I wasn't throwing you under the bus.
You could.
But that is something that's happening. They will restore it. They did something similar at White Oak and restored it great for us. So I have confidence in Dan and the various other groups involved that we'll go back, when the work is completed out there. Munster Little League informed us that they received a donation to, and they were gonna add some funds to this on field 1 and 2, or I guess it's A and B on their fields, that, they want to turf the batter's circle. So not only the batter's boxes, the home plate area, but basically up to that whole circle of dirt in that area. As part of this, they also would look to sod the base paths and this is all being done to reduce the amount of drainage. So, it's on their dime. They brought it to me as a courtesy to say, hey, this is something we want to do. They're not looking to us for any dollars to support it. They're just looking to do it themselves and wanted to do it. So we've encouraged them to proceed with those improvements to get that, done, assuming their board approves. So, but that's just something I wanted to make you aware. If you do see that work occurring, that's something that they would be doing on their own. On the recreation side, the recreation guide is at the printer. It'll be going in the mailboxes within the next few days here. That'll be coming out. And we have our fees on the agenda tonight with the new brochure coming out. The amount of rainfall this spring has been a little exceptional. We postponed or delayed our recreational soccer program a week. We were able to get that coordinated with our available Saturdays. Still a 6-week season, but we, instead of starting it 2 Saturdays ago, we started this past weekend with much better weather. And I think more enjoyable for everybody watching, especially on opening day for that season. Swim lessons and our underwater egg hunt, unfortunately, at the high school had to be canceled. There was a maintenance issue that the pool at the school had to close down for about 6 weeks. So lots of, you'll see on the claim list, if you didn't look at it already, a lot of refunds were on that list today that was approved. The car show's coming up May the 4th. We're doing a Star Wars theme this year since it's on Saturday, May the 4th. Be with you. That people are coming in. It's our 26th year, so we expect another big show out there. On the maintenance side of things, Kevin was able to complete the annual power plant operation and generator reports. We have to submit that annually to the U.S. Energy group. We've started hiring. Actually, most of our seasonal employees have already begun with the mowing season starting. They're out in force already, keeping up with our parks. Restrooms are all been open for the year. The wear areas on Grove Park were aerated and seated. We had a 3-door freezer at Triple Play Cafe that went out, needed a new compressor. So we're actually considering a whole new machine. It's about $1,000 more for a new machine based on labor. That'll probably be the better long-term solution for us to do that. We've temporarily moved the freezer from the View over to Triple Play and get them by for right now until, get that new, those new quotes and get it actually ordered and get it. There's some poison hemlock out at Centennial Park that we've sprayed and maintaining that out at the park around the pond and the near the stairs as well. Out at Centennial Park on the golf side of things, everything has increased except for range fees, slightly down this month over a year ago at this time. So, but overall, March was a pretty good month for golf. Other than that, it's typical springtime work on the, that's occurring out there. And then, as far as our golf, building construction update, a lot of the same things that have been going on are normal, occurrences every month, but walls, definitely, you're seeing the buildings go vertical, rooftops are going on. The biggest thing that I'd like to point out there, I think I might have mentioned this previously, but we are coordinating with NIPSCO to get the gas and electric connections to the building. Just this afternoon, I got the email to approve the gas connection from NIPSCO, so we're working on that this week. We also are going to ask, and you'll see some future change orders come through to add a data line connecting the pro shop to the park storage building. The park storage building being the highest point in the park now, when that roof time is up there, it makes sense to make any kind of wireless antenna, that be our best location to shoot out to, like our dog park gates and other places within the park in the future here. So this is the time to do that. It'll be a small change order, but definitely do it in before any asphalt and things like that get put into the ground out there around. We also will have change orders potentially for the utility lines, because NIPSCO will only bring it so far, and then at that point, it becomes on us to put conduit in for them to feed their lines, electric and gas, through those open conduit lines. So those will be coming. I anticipate those will probably be before you by next month. So with that, that's the reports, and
Can I make
any
one
questions
comment?
for you?
Yeah, just under park maintenance, I know that you have your, the daily trash pickup. I saw that has started, and I know that they do a good job with that. It might be a good time to remind, for Centennial Park in particular, the winds are shifting. And so I noticed a lot of trash blowing into the park from the areas in the development, especially that vacant lot. If you could go by the vacant lot, if you walk past there across the street, it's blowing. There's a lot of trash. It might be a good time to remind the developer to maybe do a cleanup on that, just because that is blowing onto the bike paths. It's blowing back into the park, especially along the retention pond there, along the tall grass. There's a lot of trash down there. I want to make sure that's cleaned up. And then secondly, just remind the staff about, I know that they're doing a really great job picking up trash from playgrounds and stuff, but around some of the exterior, like where the walking around the perimeter of the park too, there's a lot of trash along the fences, in Twin Creek Park, Cobblestones Park, parks are escaping me, but along the fences, along the edges there, there's a lot of trash.
Yeah, this is the time of year that you'll see it because of all
Yeah,
winter long.
I know, the
And
winter.
once we start mowing, because we really started just mowing the parks this week. So once they get out there, they'll be picking up papers and garbage as they go through the park. So
Yeah,
It'll
I
be-
know they'll do a good job. I more or less wanted to comment, maybe adding to the developer to that mix to maybe
yeah, we'll reach out to
encourage
them.
them to pick up some of that trash along.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them. I did touch base and I neglected to include that. They are planning to pave that, segment of the Pennsy from nearby the gardens to the bridge going over 45th. They're hoping to pave that. The last I heard from him, he was hoping within the next few weeks, when they pave and I forget which building that is, that one that's closest to the bridge that's being built now. When they pave that parking lot, they're supposed to be paving that missing segment of the path there at that same time. So that'll be nice to have.
Oh, that's the Windy City building.
Windy City building? Yeah, I don't know what, I know they call them IABC.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah. So that's it for my report.
All right, thanks. Any questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the town council liaison report. The council president, Mr. Nellens, is here to give that report if he has one.
I have I'm gonna put my Lions Club hat on. And I have a check here from the Lions Club to the Parks Department in the amount of $1,000.
There you go.
And this is
We're going to Rosebud tonight.
donated.
Oh, sorry.
This is a donation from the Lions. And it's good, there's money behind it.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Lyon.
We're just happy, we're happy to do that.
We need like a photo or something here. Hold on, let me do it.
You want to come up here with?
We
the
need like that
board?
Happy Gilmore.
Sure.
No, I do not.
Let's go
I
there.
do not dress very well. All right, there you go. Look at the check.
Hold No, not today, I'm not.
Yeah, he's like all about.
I got
There
it.
you go. Sure, you're like, take my.
We will make sure
I
to,
didn't do my makeup today.
we will make sure that we send a thank you to the Lions here.
Thank you very much, Lions Abs.
Thank you.
I'm more than happy to do that. Otherwise, things are moving right along. I got the report that there's a lot of, part-time employees are being added, which is predominantly the Parks Department, so that's good. Things are ramping up for all the projects. And, we're just moving right along with the council. And, seeing what we could do to benefit the operations all across the board. All right, so, well, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have any checks for us? Ask them. Well, the next item is item for discussion action. Catherine, I see you out here from HWC Engineering. Made the long trek from Indianapolis. It's exciting. Welcome.
Conference podium. Well, Mark's pulling up my presentation. So we were with you a little while ago and had kind of presented a summary of the public input and analysis we had done thus far on the parks plan. And so today, we're really to the point of giving preliminary recommendations and solicit feedback on that. So that's what I'm going to present today. I'm going to start out with a really brief introduction of a few summary of things we've kind of told you before, but kind of highlight those, and then we'll go into the recommendation. So first, I'm going to start with kind of the takeaways from the analysis of the public input functions. So from the public input, we have done a public survey and also have done public workshops where people invited to town hall and come in comments and several different exercises. So one of the number one survey respondents that we got was about walking, jogging, and biking, the number one reason that people were using the parks in Munster. And then another kind of common trend that came up a lot in comments, not only in the public survey, but also in the public meeting, was nature trails. A nature center, nature programming, bird watching, and more nature trails were kind of common themes we heard in all of the and then another one that kind of stood out was restrooms. Although the majority of the respondents were content with the restroom facilities in the park system, 45% expressed some displeasure about not having permanent restrooms as opposed to like temporary events. So those were made, suggestions were made to have those in some of the parks that are used for higher population events like soccer fields and things like that. And then we had also asked, what would you like to see in Centennial Park as planning moves ahead for that? And an indoor outdoor rental pavilion received the most votes at the public input session. And then outdoor games and fire pit social spaces were close behind that. And again, that's really some highlights. There's quite a bit more detail as far as that goes. As far as the inventory, so these are kind of more some of our observations. The parks facilities are well maintained, well used. A lot of program offerings, they're very expansive. And then the amenity makeup. So if we're kind of getting critical with some of the parks, as we're looking at all the parks, a lot of the amenity makeups are the same, you know, different features, playground, loop trail, shelter, recreational fields happening in a lot of the same parks. So also just kind of looking for ways to diversify the offerings. And then definitely have reached a crossroads on several aging or vacant facilities. So of note, the banquet hall at Centennial Park, obviously not in use currently. The community park, skate park, just kind of trying to assess that a little critically. Is that still being used? It has aged out. And then the Munster Community Pool, obviously a very high maintenance facility as all pools are for such a short season. And that's beginning to age as well. Another item of note with the inventory was just observing many or several of the parks facilities are sharing property with the schools or directly adjacent to the schools. And just noting if those were, you know, currently open to the public, if for some reason the schools took those back, then as you look at your map overall, you would be missing, you would have some service gaps across the community. As far as needs analysis, so here we're kind of looking at different standards across the U.S. of different communities of their size and what they're offering and comparing Munster to those. So you had surpluses in acreage, parks acreage overall, trails, and all outdoor categories, including or except multi-purpose courts, multi-purpose synthetic courts, and ice rinks. And then deficiencies in all indoor facilities, except for your community center, the social center kind of checks that box. But indoor facilities meaning like a recreational center, a senior center, teen, aquatic, nature center, and indoor ice rinks. So those are the categories of the different comparisons that we do. So the top needs the parks here regularly, just from, sorry, that here is spelling correctly, but here from the public are more indoor recreational space, a drop-in senior facility, more events where alcohol is allowed. A lot of people brought up different events that used to be offered that they really enjoyed and like to see those back, and just more concerts. People are enjoying those things. And then from our analysis, we also pulled that the system is considered slightly understaffed compared to national benchmarks. Just considering the acreage that you have and different similar sized communities. It's not a huge deficit there, but it was observed. So another part of the analysis is this walkability map. So each one of the green polygons is one of your parks. And then we start to show walkability kind of distances around those, just kind of showing you can people in their neighborhoods walk to a park? Do they have access to a park? So the kind of orange color is showing that you have great coverage within your community, which is fantastic. So the few white spots that we are, the spots that don't have that coverage, we're pointing out, but we wanted to know that the area in the northeast corner of Munster is really serviced by Wicker Memorial Park, which is North Township Regional Park, so just outside the town limits, but it's still servicing that area. And then the northwest corner is served by the school playground and green space associated with that. So if we put that on the map, that would essentially cover that. And then space number 3 is really kind of more planned to be developed commercially, but it does have pathways and open spaces as part of that, and the Quincy Green will also connect through there. So we're pretty happy with your coverage. So now I'm going to get into some preliminary recommendations. So the first would be kind of, we're calling it a miscellaneous category, but just some kind of different things. One, adding permanent restrooms at key locations with high use like West Lakes Park, which is actually already in the parks plan. And then reducing mixed-use sports courts facilities to alleviate conflict of user types. So things like basketball courts next to pickleball courts, if those use types are kind of conflicting, the age of those users may not want to be next to each other, so it can come through as you upgrade and change things. Maybe you're adding more pickleball courts and moving a basketball court to a different location. Making accessibility a priority by improving not only access from neighborhoods to parks, but ensuring you have parking spaces, travel aisles marked, companion seating at benches, and access areas for accessible spectator viewing at recreational fields and courts. And then one thing that we kind of talked about with the parks was this kind of idea of the Memorial Tree Program, which has been fantastic for adding trees to the parks, but kind of thinking through the long term, how that will work as trees age, and is there a way to kind of consolidate that and do that differently? And instead of kind of having little placards all over the place, trying to go around those and make sure you're staying on top of it. So in reaction to kind of the public input and all the comments about nature trails and nature center and those types of things, we are recommending protecting and enhancing increasing nature areas and offerings, which is challenging to do. You don't have a bunch of open green space that you can just acquire and do that. So some of the recommendations in that category are things, areas, natural areas that you already have, protecting those, continuing to make sure you're doing invasive weed cleanups and making sure that you're protecting those mature woods. Maintaining Clayton Lake as a natural area. Many people talked about that, bird watching and just enjoying that space. And is there a way to offer a little more access with even a boardwalk portion of the trail or something like that. And then seeking out opportunities to maintain or create open space within existing parks. So a lot of times when we look at parks across the state, as you add more amenities, it's also important to edit and remove amenities too. So you're not kind of just filling up these parks if there's no open space left. And then if any natural water properties become available, considering acquiring those. And then new, unique, low impact ways to program existing natural areas will also become So continuing to add to the growing trail network. So people responded really highly to walking and biking and all the opportunities that are already in Munster. But they want more, so you start a good thing, and people ask for more of that. So just encouraging you to complete the bridges over Hart Ditch and Key Marsh that are already planned. And then connecting Munster, eventually south to Dyer, connecting Community State Subdivision north to Superior Avenue, and kind of completing any missing segments of Pennsy Greenway, which is, and connecting to Illinois, which is part of the American Discovery Trail, long range plan. As far as playgrounds go, our recommendation there is offering diverse play offerings. You have a surplus of playgrounds, so you're definitely meeting that category. You're doing a great job there. They're definitely used, just even from our observations. But there's some different ways that, you know, just looking at some different categories of play that maybe aren't represented that could be. So nature play is one, inclusive play, pretending and performance play are a few. Also this idea of solitude options or hideaways for those potentially on the autism spectrum. And just kind of thinking about the quality over quantity of play areas. So those are some images of those types of things. And then improving accessibility within play areas. So most of the playgrounds are mulch surfacing or a hardwood, engineered hardwood mulch. But so in order to have an inclusive playground that wheelchairs can use and others with disabilities, having afforded place surfacing would be ideal. It's also extremely expensive compared to mulch, obviously. So that's something to consider. And then also kind of the different, you know, I think a lot of the accessible play equipment has come a long way from kind of just, you know, swings and things like that. So there are a lot more offerings available. And then don't forget about the adults. I think one thing we've heard is, you know, we don't love to see parents kind of sitting in cars and letting their kids be out on the playground by themselves. So are there ways that we can help them interact with their kids? This idea of even having, you know, instead of having your exercise equipment for adults over here and playground over here, can you intermix that so parents can ride an exercise bike while they're watching their kids? Or even there's all sorts of kind of adult and child swings. That's one example to get them involved. And then always parent seating is critical and having nice spaces for them. So, and then the next topic is kind of upgrading, relocating, or removing outdated facilities. So these are some that we're starting to explore and kind of want to get feedback on tonight through the rest of the plan. So the first would be the skate park. So one of the first in the region we understand and has served this community well, but just kind of questioning now the age of that, the location of it, and knowing that a lot of other communities, Highland, Schererville, Dyer, et cetera, also now have skate parks. So you're kind of competing with those. So looking at current trends, pump tracks are kind of a recent trend that we've been seeing. Kokomo, Batesville are a few that have added those in the last couple of years. So some suggestions might be one, kind of just investigate the usage of the skate park. We've done some studies for parking in communities just with drone photography over a series of time, taking a picture of the day or 3 times a day and seeing literally counting. An intern could do this, counting to see how often the facility is actually used. You could also do a public survey on the house. Regrettably, we didn't have that question in our public survey, but upgrading the facility. So considerations, you could kind of go in one direction, like upgrading the facility to kind of meet current trends and attract new users. You could relocate the facility as a smaller kind of skate spot in other parks rather than being kind of this larger facility. Or you could remove the facility that's kind of no longer attracting a lot of visitors. So another recommendation is maintaining or reimagining aging facilities. And one of those would be the Munster Community Pool. So we know kind of surrounding communities, Hammond, I believe, closed public pools in 2017, 4 of those. Did a little research online. I couldn't tell if they were planning to bring one back or not, but just looking at kind of the facilities within 20 miles of Munster, they're a little bit limited. They're smaller community pools, but there are a few. So that is one thing to kind of think about. You do have a larger community pool. You are kind of offering that as an amenity in the summertime. So the benefits, it is a quality of life amenity for those who can't afford a membership-based facility. There are a lot of membership-based facilities already around the region and also continuing to come. But that's not necessarily for everyone. But at the same time, Munster's Pool is 20+ years old. It requires substantial maintenance. Staffing is always a challenge, and just such a short season. So those are kind of the challenges of, do we want to continue to invest in that for such a short season? So different directions that could go, continue to provide a public swimming facility, invest, upgrade, extend your hours is one direction you could go with that. The other direction would be to replace the facility or remove the facility. One thing we did kind of consider, and we're seeing communities do, is to replace their public pools with a splash pad facility, just because it is less maintenance, no lifeguards, and extends the season. So the next slide just starts to show you the range of possibilities with that. I think sometimes when you hear splash pad, you kind of think of just a little fountain. That can really become quite an event, quite a summer place that people want to come and gather. So those are just some images of what that could be. Another recommendation is to address the deficiency of indoor facilities. So the different types of indoor facilities that we looked at were one, nature center. And doing just a little bit of research, it seems like there's several nature center type facilities pretty close to here. So one option, instead of kind of doing that, would be to increase your nature programming in the spaces you have, or a multi-use building that's serving some other purpose. Another indoor facility that we looked at was the senior facility, which would require the support of additional staffing, programming, but also that is something that you could, if you wanted to develop within a facility. You're just kind of limited in the indoor space that you have now. So as you're considering indoor space, it might be appropriate to consider ways that you could program that for senior in nature as well. Just a kind of case study, and the last bullet was the social in Greenwood, which is kind of a membership-based social senior center. They have outings, organized trips, exercise classes, some of the programming that you're already doing, but really kind of on that. Another type of indoor space would be a community center, so a multi-use community center with classrooms, indoor flexible space, which could be considered at community or Centennial Park, kind of a centralized location makes sense. And then recreational, which would be more kind of sports and exercise equipment oriented. And that's something kind of thinking through shared use facilities that the school is considering, something like that are the ways for the parks to use as well. So the example I'm showing there is Silver Street Park in New Albany, Southern Indiana, which is a 25,000 square foot building. And we know the park director very well there, and she wishes it was twice as big. So I think that's always the challenge with the indoor space. As soon as you build it, they all come and everybody wants to use it and lease it, which is fantastic, but you always wish it was bigger. They even do a lot of their, if they get things rained out, they'll do their Easter egg hunt indoors, things like that. So it's really nice space to have. So a part of our scope was to also take kind of a look at three parks. So Community Estates Park is the first. So this is the newest park that's going to be added to the park system. And so our recommendation there is just to continue to develop the final plan and implement that. Because as you saw by that walkability map, that's filling a gap in that location. And then maybe just use this as an opportunity to offer, a different type of play in that location. The next one is Community Park. So the considerations for Community Park, we're really looking at kind of, most of the park is used by baseball fields, and that is pretty much set and very well used and well maintained. So we're really looking at kind of the southern portion of the park where the pool sits and looking at different options for what you could do there. So one option, like we talked about before, was to keep the public pool facility, invest and upgrade and really make that a feature of your park system. Another option would be to replace the pool and do Bulldog Park is the type of facility that we're showing the images of, where it's kind of this large community building that offers programming space. It also, in this particular example, has an open air pavilion, splash pad, and an ice rink, but they host a lot of events there. Community Park is very central in your park system as far as geographically, and it also hosts a lot of events, so just kind of making sure that it's still available to do that no matter what you do. For Centennial Park, the big item there is really just looking at the existing banquet hall, this kind of prominent architectural building that sits up over the water, and what happens with that now. So with a part of the public input, we had asked people, what would you like to see there? And I mentioned some of the reactions were, well, we still would really love to have a pavilion of some kind, even if that's kind of more of a park, indoor, outdoor park pavilion. You could rent it for a baby shower or a small wedding, opened out onto a terrace over the water. It just really seems like if that building is to come down, you're going to really be missing that prominent architecture up there. So if you do replace that with some sort of a pavilion, it seems as though it can't just kind of be a small shade structure. It needs to have some weight to it, some presence. So we're just kind of sketching up some ideas about what that would look like. And could you combine that with some game yards or, spaces for social events that could be combined with having the concerts? Could you do a beer garden there, outdoor games and programming? You could also have an event at the golf course and then spill over to this space. So just kind of brainstorming what that could look like. The other space in Centennial Park that we looked at was the playground, so just south of Centennial Village Development. So that playground is equipment is aging, and then the park system is looking at what to do there. So we really thought this might be an opportunity to emphasize this play space, improve the equipment, make it a little larger, add a number of sidewalks and trail connections, keep those nice pavilions that are pretty popular to be rented out, provide shades and different opportunities for adults as well. And then maybe that's a place where you go with some investment of port and place surfacing and really make an accessible playground. And then the bottom kind of little zoom in area is looking at Clay Hole Lake, and could you start to implement a little bit of a boardwalk system to just kind of give people a little bit of a taste of that environment. So what's next? We have submitted a draft plan to IDNR, to the state, and we'll wait for comments from them. We're planning to get a second draft with recommendations to the committee May 3rd, which will include all of you on the board. And then we'd like to get comments back by kind of the middle of May. And then we'll be giving a public presentation with all the final recommendations towards the end of May, which the public will be invited to offer further input. So that's the end of my presentation. I would love to take questions or comments, what you think about some of the things we're considering.
No, that's great. I don't have a question. I think you pretty much nailed all the stuff that I saw. Like one small question, I guess, and it's regarding just the Centennial Park. And we had talked about the playground. And do you foresee any issues with that playground? Again, being near that development? Like
Right.
that was,
Yeah, there was lots of discussion kind of throughout with the last time we talked with you, and then also with the smaller committee about what makes sense there. We had actually talked even about, is this idea of a something a little more urban plaza, or that event space with outdoor games, does that make sense there to kind of tie to people going out to dinner and then maybe taking a stroll?
well, because you have that pavilion, the concert pavilion there.
Yes,
That's what I was thinking. We were tying that into that more adult space.
yes. So we kind of considered that. We had a second meeting with Mark and kind of looked at where the existing parking lot was and thinking, I don't know that that connection, we had kind of almost even brainstormed reconfiguring that parking lot so you could connect that space to be fully pedestrian and you're not kind of dealing with all those configurations. In that discussion, we started to think, well, where does the playground make sense then in Centennial? And it started kind of getting pushed farther and farther back into the park, and we weren't sure that made sense. So ultimately in that conversation, we landed here. I still think the use is fine either way. It seems like those pavilions are really popular, and just that kind of alternate use when the concerts aren't happening, of having that active space makes sense for play, but certainly open to further considerations there.
I just think something to consider would be if you're thinking about that in a grand scheme of things, sort of picture Centennial Village, the hotel, the concert area, the playground is the piece that for me doesn't
Doesn't
fit.
fit.
And that is where my struggle is. And I would definitely look to flip that, maybe to the other side of the park and doing something on that side. Maybe by the dog park, somewhere out there, as opposed to doing that and moving some of the outdoor games or pavilion sort of things that we could maybe bring back some of those outdoor, beer gardens and things like that that people like so much. There, it just makes more sense to not have a playground in the middle of these adult things.
Mhm.
I have a question.
And you said you agreed. By the way.
Yeah.
I don't think that was on the mic.
Well, I think for me, I was more thinking, does a playground still make sense in light
At
of,
all.
at all, in light of making it more family oriented and doing more family things together? Does that still make sense? That's where I'm going now. If that place, you think,
And maybe that's time to explore the
Or
alternate play that
play.
you're talking about,
Yeah.
that more inclusive play.
I guess my other question was, I think I remember when we were looking at, community park, how we talked about how it had a lot of cement. And one of the discussions was how could we connect that maybe a little better and remove some of the cement and add a little more grass in different places? Is that still being discussed, or is this more of we focused on what people wanted more today?
I would say we're kind of still floating ideas at
Okay.
this point. And so that idea of, reducing some of the parking lots, it also seems like there's, different, ideas are coming and things are kind of happening behind the scenes that we're trying to stay up with too. So, no, I think this plan will ultimately, come down to here are some of the priorities and some of the missing amenities we see you needing to address or that recommending you address. And then where you ultimately end up putting those things may even come past this plan.
Sure.
Because I can certainly see an argument for, I think at one point we even showed like doing more of like an ice rink and multi-use plaza phase there closer to Centennial Village. That still, seems appropriate in my mind, the reduction of parking in, community park, I think certainly makes sense. It just kind of depends on what that, if the pool stays or the pool goes, that's a huge decision point. What that use becomes, if the skate park stays or goes, that's another decision point. So,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Anything else? I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna share with us the presentation, then you'll ask us questions when you think it's right, whatever date that was, May 3rd or
Yes.
whatever,
Yeah.
so.
And that will be the document itself is quite extensive, so we'll.
Get the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
What was that called, that track? You said
The
the
pump track,
pump track. They,
yeah,
You look it up.
yeah, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. It was really cool. So,
yeah.
I think
They
it's
seem to be-
owned by the skate park, the new one downtown.
okay, that could be an alternative to the skate park if that's aging out, is something like that. I don't know if we have the space there, but I like the idea,
All right, any other questions?
especially on the small age.
Oh, right here, and I'm not quite sure, is a question, probably should be directed at the board. What's the status of the existing clubhouse that's?
But we're gonna get to that on
Oh,
the agenda.
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
At the south end of Centennial Park, where the path terminates at this utility building, okay, along, Calumet Avenue. And then it just stops, and there's no way to get, if you're walking, to get from, along Calumet Avenue and frankly, along Main Street, that's a disaster. Is there any plan for that? Maybe not.
Talking like in front of like the veterinarian, the
Yeah,
CVS
yeah.
over there, there's no path like
Oh.
around that or,
Yeah.
And down by fire station number 3.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, that path does continue through Cobblestone
But then it abruptly.
Park and it goes through Cobblestone subdivision, and then it
Right.
picks up on the trail that's between Twin Creek and Cobblestone. That's where that trail picks up. You are correct. It doesn't go around Calumet.
Yeah, or Main Street.
It doesn't go, yeah,
Yeah, okay. No.
no, and that's a sidewalk issue, which is probably more of the,
Yeah, I'm just curious. because it's-
Area.
you know,
but that bike trail does connect through Cobblestone Park.
It does go through Cobblestone.
It connects there, and then it goes through Cobblestone, it picks up through the neighborhood in Cobblestone, and then it connects all the way back through to, the trail that goes between,
Yeah, we used to do a
Right.
5K back
yeah,
there. Remember
between,
that? The
Twin
Hobie
Creek and
5K?
Cobblestone subdivisions. There's a whole trail that goes all the way to Main Street, through Sherrville, it
That's
goes,
fun.
I'll add, as part of the intersection improvements at Treadway and Calumet, there will be, some sidewalk connection going in at that, near that intersection to connect to the trail that's in Cobblestone Park. And in the future, as across, on the west side of Calumet, as more development happens there, there will be a bike trail going west that eventually will connect, all the way to Community State subdivision. But there will be some better connectivity over there.
Thanks. Okay, anything else? Well, good luck and have a safe trip back
No,
to Indianapolis.
thank
Thank you, and thank you.
thank you, good information.
All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is the Mark's mistake. That's what it's subtitled. Go ahead, what's that?
I apologize profusely here with, somewhere in there in the excitement of moving forward, I'm not sure how we dropped this or how.
You were over $1,600. It's really not, we're not.
Either way, we did, have the majority of this work has already been completed, so we're bringing this to you and asking for your confirmation of this purchase from Tribe Electronics for the new sound system and the sound system upgrades at the stage at Centennial Park in the amount of $21,650.
Got it. All right, any other discussion? 95% complete, any have a motion? Mark's mistake,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve Mark's mistake, second. He seconded, any other discussion, none?
Someone's gonna
All those in
back up there
favor?
and then Say, Mike motion to approve this, and I want it on video that I did not motion to approve my mistake.
You just made a motion to approve the agreement.
Agreed, yes.
We'll understand that for history
I
purposes.
know that for history
Yeah.
purposes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed,
He makes the jokes, I pay price.
yeah. That's right, it is, that is the case. I apologize. I cannot make jokes anymore with this. Well, Mike pays the price. Next item, White Oak Park.
We have, a proposal from Permaseal to redo the pickleball courts out at White Oak Park, which we are recommending, including their, what they refer to as their right way crack repair system. They, were the only contractor that submitted a proposal for this project. It's $24,950, and we are recommending that award as this was, with the recommendation for.
And for the record, this court is pretty old now. It's our first pickleball court.
It's our first, there's three
Yeah.
courts there on the, yeah, it was the first one.
And so this is, well,
Well,
time to resurface this.
preferably, they would love to see it change the other direction. It doesn't lay out in the east-west direction is not the preferred method, but that's the way the three courts fit. Otherwise, you don't have two on that one. So,
Motion to approve the, pickleball repaving.
Second,
Moved and seconded, and I've learned something about pickleball setup. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. We have a new pickleball court improvement. Yes. Resolution 2024-01,
And we would purchase pickleball court.
Centennial Park Clubhouse future.
No, this is 2401 is the resolution amendment schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry, scheduled fees. Matt, I gotta go to math time.
Park related fees. So this is with the new brochure coming out. This is, our seasonal, occurrence. You have a spreadsheet there with, a lot of the fees remain the same. Some had slight increases, some, and we also highlighted the ones that we barter with some vendors where they might provide a class. And in return, we give them a sponsorship or ad space in our brochure. So, bringing this to you with a recommendation to approve that resolution.
I did see, just want to make a comment. I did see some of the new programs, so I wanted to say nice job to whoever coordinated of those. So, nice job. So, yeah, those look nice. So, thank you.
That's the motion. I'm looking for a second. Well, yeah,
I will motion to
It sounded
approve,
good.
sorry, I will motion to
I will
approve
second.
resolution 24. 24-1.
the motions, it's been seconded for resolution 2024-01. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Now we'll move on to the future of the clubhouse.
Yes, resolution 2024-02 was drafted as a resolution concerning the future of Centennial Park Clubhouse. After a study session last week with the town council, this was drafted and reviewed by the town attorney and the park board attorney. And they are both fine with the way and the wording as it's drafted. Brought to you for your consideration today.
Just for clarification for the public, this is the resolution to tear down the building.
And just as a reminder, since the facility was closed due to the structural issues, it's been closed. We've continued to use the safer side of the building for our golf operations. With the new golf buildings under construction, once we are able to vacate the building entirely, move into the new building, which we anticipate to be this fall, that would be the next step, is to move forward with demolition of this facility. We have not taken any official action up until this point, so this would be your first action to approve that as the pending step that will follow up.
So the next step will be put together a bid packet, put it out for bid, yes, for demolition. And then I'm assuming it's gonna come through here, or is it gonna come through the town?
I expect it to be through here at your board.
So, and we'll make sure that everything else is on schedule for the new facility so that we can transition the golf carts over there.
I anticipate the same, Dan, that it will be brought through this board. The funding mechanism will be approved at the council level.
Gotcha. All right, just so everyone knows.
For the demolitions in the apartment, but for the new stuff, that's the, obviously,
That as well.
yeah.
All right, is there a motion to approve resolution?
It's my motion day, so I will motion to
Why stop now?
approve resolution 2024-2.
And seconded by, so we've got a motion and a second, and I was starting to worry. All those, any other discussion? Yeah, I can't make any motions. I just make bad jokes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. 2024-02 passes 4-0. Seeing nothing else, unless Mark, you got some, we will make them have a adjourn and motion to adjourn. Come on, Mike, there you go. And seconded to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed. Next meeting is gonna be Tuesday, May 21st, right here at Town Hall at 5 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.